Okay. In order to this week's parsha is Vayeira. To start parsha, you have to go back to last week's parsha. Hashem told Avraham to do a bris, and uh, and he had three friends. V'heim bali bris Avraham, Oner, Eshkol, and Mamre were the bali bris Avraham. They had a covenant together, and you can't do things without. You can't stick out. Number one, but moreover, if there's a covenant, a bris, a bund together, you can't do something, go on your way. We have to do it together. So when Avram last week had a war with the four malachim, four kings, he went under Eshchem Mamre came along. They were bali bris. They were all in it together in a covenant together. So that's important for the beginning of this parsha. Vayeira elav Avram, Hashem reveals himself to Avram, and he's sitting there at the Pesach oil. Why is he at the opening? So first of all, we have to understand what means the opening. If you saw a chuppah without a roof is not a building. By a chuppah and by a wedding, you need a roof over the head. So you have such a chuppah, and then you have four poles. Why is there four poles? It's really four walls. Avram's doors were by all four sides, but the door was open so wide that you don't see a wall. It's not that there's no wall. It's just the door is open fully. The heart is open. It reflects his heart that's open. And he's sitting Pesach oil. Why Pesach oil? Why at the opening? Why not inside? The Torah says he's looking for guests. Okay. Hashem showed up to Avram before he was in Eretz Yisrael. He didn't show up to him, and now he revealed himself in a different way. Total. If he revealed himself in Eretz Yisrael to Avram, Lashem Vayivin Shem Mizbeach Lashem Anirei, we had at the beginning of last week's parsha. Hashem showed he revealed himself a lot more, not in a trance, not in sort of a dream, but actually we don't understand what it means. But what we could understand, we said last week, that Avram saw Hashem in every detail of this world. In this expression, your in Russian, the Pichatki Palsa was all over. Your fingerprints were all over the thing. The Hashem, he saw Elikus in everything. He saw eternity in everything. So this week, it's even a higher level. After the bris, after he had a covenant with Hashem, and to Lazaracha for the children and the children's children forever. For Nitzchi, this is in a higher level. So say Chazal, and Rashi quotes it, that Hashem comes to Avram to visit him. Why did he come to visit him? It's Ashros, Ashchen, Hashem came. It's like the Kohen Gadol Kodesh Gadosh on Yom Kippur, in the most holy place, holy, in the holiest time, in the holiest person. So Avram gets a visit from Hashem. Why? Because it says by Shechem, we're in a few parshas, and now we're going to read by Shechem, when it hurts the most, by Yom Shlishi after the Milah, right? And Shimon and Levi went and killed out everybody. It says, so we see that the third day is the most painful day, and therefore Avram is not feeling well. So Hashem came to visit him. So what happened, Lamaisa? He's waiting for guests. How come there's no guests? There's always guests. Why did Hashem pick Israel? Because he wanted to situate himself in a place where Ivrim Vishavim. That's the whole point of it, Yisrael, to help everybody out, to be the shining light on top of the hill for everybody to see. Avram Avinu set himself in by Parashas Drachim, where everybody can enjoy it. Hashem said, I want my country, I want my skin, I want my Beis Hamikdash, I want my house to be in a place where everybody passes, where it connects. It's the Oivrei Derech, it's the passageway between Asia. Okay, for the viewers, I'm going the opposite for your side. For Asia and then for Europe and for Africa. That is the connection, the hook that hooks everything together. It's the center of the world, and therefore Avraham Avinu, just like emulated Hashem, he put himself in Parashas Drachim. He put himself in the way where everybody travels, in the thorough way. So therefore, he opens up and he wants guests. So how come there's no guests? Because he's in pain. And if he's in pain, Hashem doesn't want him to run around. And therefore, there was no the sun has sort of a cover, and it's like a mask. It's too bright. Hashem took away that mask. Now it shined fully, and it was so hot that nobody can travel, and therefore there won't be guests. Avram will take a break for one day. Now, Avram doesn't want to break. Why? What is it in Avram that he doesn't want to break? Because there's two levels of chesed. This parsha, you see him, you sort of a happenstance. I pounced onto some type of a situation, and I'm a nice guy, so I help out. It's my nature. I'm good natured. I'm not karg. I'm willing to share. But then there's a situation of I'm just the ahavas chesed. I'm in love with chesed. When a person has sort of, it's not a fanatic obsession, but a lovely obsession. I love when to make people happy. I love when people smile. I love to take broken people and give them a meaningfulness in life, explaining away that it's not the end of the life. In other words, to take somebody from depression to a broken heart. I love taking from depression to broken heart. Depression is I give up. Broken heart means I want to do something about it. It hurts me and it irks me and it pains me. So I want to do something about it. I have an urge. I've had that urge. Ahavas chesed. It's a toidas chesed with a havas chesed, and they come together hand in hand. So Avram Avinu, the intellectual Avram Avinu, was Yoshev Zokin V'yeshiva. He said, you know what? Forget it. Right now, the ace losses is not to sit in with Sefer Yitzira, Kabbalistic intellectualizing and philosophizing. No, no, no. Right now, it's the ace rotzen to feed people, because you can't speak the godliness into the person without feeding the first feed him. And when he's saturated, and then he wants to tell you thank you, you say, oh, now when you want to be thankful, I'm telling you who to be thankful to. I'll tell you who the now we'll go into philosophy. Now we'll go into theology. Now let's go to the truth. Let's seek the truth together, and we'll come to the same conclusion that there's money thing, there's only one God. Okay. Vayeira Elav Hashem Beloini Mamri comes to Beloini Mamri, and Rashi right away, Hushanasli Eitz Salamila, he gave him the Eitz Salamila. There's a big kasha. Avram Avinu, what's Mamre? We'll get to that a little later, but in a second. But what is Mamre? Mamre is Rosh Tevis. Is Mem Reish Aleph. Mem is Mitzrayim when they took away his wife. Like it's 3 months, a half a year, whatever it is. And but the point is, a few shitas Rishonim. It can be less also, but they took away the love of his life, and he didn't know how to react. He can go to war, but apparently wasn't the Ratzon Hashem, and he he took it all in, and he thought, Oy I might not be able to live with her afterwards. Who knows? And it's Helga Goof. It was my second half, and it is something that he can't fathom. Now, again, we'll have to get into it hopefully a little later. And the second mem is Malachim. He had a fight for his nephew Lot because of Kiddush Hashem, like we said last week. And also for the future, for his anical, for Boyaz, which is going to marry Rus, and from there, her great grandchild will be David HaMelech and Shlomo HaMelech and Mashiach ben David, and all that, v'chulu. And then you have the third one is Rov. Hashem told him, come to Israel, I'll make you famous, I'll give you money, and then, you'll have it all fine and violent. And it wasn't like that. It was Rov. He was hungry, he had to go to Mitzrayim, later on to Pelishtim. But in this week's Parsha Pelishtim, last week Mitzrayim. And then you have Aleph is the Eish. Aleph can also, can also be Avimelech, but it's already included in the other three, and the beginning of this parsha is before Avimelech. Whatever you want to put Mamre. So Beiloinim Mamre, so Machloikas in the Gemara, is Mamre a person or Mamre is a place? I want to combine both shitas. There was a person and he had a place named after him. Now, what is Avram doing here? He lives here. So Hashem comes to Avram So the Rashi bevarns a kasha. What would be the kasha of Rashi, which Rashi answers? The kasha that was bothering Rashi. Why punktum mamre? Hashem could have came to him in a different place. He would have made him travel out of the town of Mamre, out of the plains of Mamre, and he would meet him there. Or he wouldn't live to begin with. Why Epis Mamre? If the Torah tells us, then Rashi says there's some lesson over here. So Rashi says he gave him the Eitz Alamila. The Groise Kash is again, the Kash is he gave him Eitz Alamila? Avraham Avinu that goes through the Kivshana Eish, the furnace of fire by Nimrod, because he didn't want to bow down to idols, to Avodah Zarah. Avraham Avinu that leaves his whole kingdom that he had, listen, everything, his fame and wealth, and he leaves everything behind, his whole past behind, and he starts a total new life by 75 years old. He's already on pension and starts from new. He asked Mamre about that? No. When Avram Avinu experiences hunger and he goes to Mitzrayim and his wife is taken away, no Mamre, no Eitzes on Eshka Mamre. What does he have to ask on Eshka Mamre, Eitzes Alamila? What's shut in that whole thing? So the Medrash says a few Midrashim of this, but we can't cover everything. Vayeira, you come to the next story. He fights the four kings. Did he ask Mamre? No. And continuously in this parsha, does he ask Mamre? No. Why does he have to ask Kalamila or Neshma? So Chazal teaches the Medrash. The Medrash says that he goes to Onir and he asks him, I'm going to give you the way I understand it. The Gemara is much shorter, but I'm going to give you the way I understand it. He goes to Onir and he asks Onir, should I do a bris? Onir says, don't do it. Why don't do it? Eshkel says, don't do it. Why don't do it? Mamre says, do the right thing. So let's go to Onir. Onir says, you're old, you're frail, and once you do a bris, you'll be sick. You'll have less koiches, you'll have less humps, and therefore you just fought a war with enemies. They might retract and they might say, you know what, peace means a peace treaty is not a peace treaty, a ceasefire is not a ceasefire. In other words, you seize, they fire. You have to be ready. You can't let your protection down. You guard down. You have to be ready. You have to have your hand on the pulse, and you got to be ready to shoot with the automatic if you need. And therefore, you're going to make a bris. They'll come and pounce on you. So Honor says, it's not from the Gimel Chaburis. It's not from the three cardinal Aveiras that you're not allowed to. And therefore, if in the Midbar they didn't do a bris for 40 years, in many times the Gemara says, if his brother dies, his brothers die, then don't do a bris on him. Why? If there's in the Midbar there's no Ruch Tzefainis. So there was no the Ruch Tzefainis that stops that clots the blood, that doesn't let it to death. So therefore they didn't do a bris over there. But if the Gemara says if you have a situation, his brother has died because they did a bris and they bled to death, so he shouldn't do a bris. He shouldn't bleed to death. So why pikuach nefesh? Only tells him pikuach nefesh, don't do it. Rational sounds great. Eshkel says no, because but I'll tell you one thing: forget about the physical. Look for the spiritual. You came to this world, Avram. You're a spiritual being. You're a spiritual being with a costume, with a suit. But if you take off the garb, you're spiritual. So think about the spiritual, Avram. Yeah, no. So if he says, Eshkel says, you're doing kirov, you're creating balshuvas, you're helping out people come close and connect to Hashem. What are you going to tell them? You're going to tell them blood. You just preached your whole life against blood. You preached all the life of God. You're going to go serve the God of death. You're going to start cutting off organs. You're going to start like the Tsarist Russia. You had to cut off a finger to show that you're loyal. What kind of business? This is primitive. This is evil gods. This is paganism. What are you doing, bris? What are you hacking with the bris? And to leave that all alone, you're going to lose all your clients. Is it motive to follow one Shabbos? Then and you gain many Shabbosim. If you be follow one mitzvah, right now it's not the time. You have to first train everybody in. They have to have more emunah. They have to be willing. So Eshkel is sort of saying either Either don't do it because you're going to lose all your balchuvas, all your potential balchuvas. Like otherwise, do it bitzina. Don't do it barabim. Why do it barabim? Why you making the whole manifesto? Loves up the whole fanfare. What do you need people? Comes Mamre. Mamre says, Lamaisa, do the right thing. Why? What is Mamre saying? The way I understand it, you never lose from doing the right thing. You serve the Rebbeinu Shalom, when everybody, all the naysayers, you never lose when you go with Nitzchis. He's the boss. And then later, if you do lose out, you tell him, Hashem, the ball is in your court. I did what you said. And if it's wrong, I did. You told me to follow the rabbis. I listened to the rabbis. This is your system. You created the system. I followed it. I'm not a chacham. I don't know. I followed the rabbis. They told me to take this shot and that. I don't know. I don't know. I wanted to marry off our kids. So I came to Israel. I had to take one shot, another shot, another shot. Now they're saying it's terrible. I know. The rabbi said you cannot lose by listening to your chachamim and leaders of the Jewish nation. Dor dor v'dorshu. That's it. And what did the rabbis tell Hashem? I listened to you too. You told me to listen to the specialist. I listened to the specialist. He told me it's pekuch nefesh. When I grace a novi, I don't know. I did the right thing. If you do the right, Mamre said you can't lose by doing the right thing. So let me explain over here. I forgot where this mashal comes from. I maybe it's a Gemara. I don't remember what it was. That it was a king that somebody did something against, but the king knows he grew up together with this guy. He knows this guy. He doesn't have it in him to do such evil. He it was a mistake clearly, but they're gonna they gave him a knas of I don't know of $100,000, and he totally doesn't have such money. He doesn't have 1,000, but 100,000. It's a joke. It can't be. So what are they going to do? They're going to lock him up. They're going to put him in the jail. In those jails, he would die. And the king couldn't fathom that. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I know him. I know him. I grew up with him. He couldn't have done it. Clearly was unintentional. If he did it, was unintentional. So what does the king do? He wants to save his friend, his old friend, his classmate. So the king goes, tell one of his close people, here's a check. It's a bank note, right? It doesn't have to have a name. It doesn't, you just take it, it's like cash. And he says, here's 100,000, throw it into the guy's mail slot, and he'll open it up and he'll come to the door. See? That's what he did. And this guy, what, $100,000 gift? Moedik. Let's say he had this guy's name. And he goes to the bank, and the next day he comes to the court, and the king is there, and he pays it, and he's very sad. And the king calls him over, and he said, why are you so sad? He said, because Hashem just sent me $100,000, and I have to just lose it on something I'm accused of, and I never meant no intentional to hurt anybody. And I just imagine I would have had, and I can keep that money. I never saw such a money on paper ever. Even that number I never saw. And here I had it in my hand and lost it less than 24 hours later. So he's sad. And the king tells him the truth. I saved your back. I didn't want they should throw you in the dungeon. So I gave you the 100,000 so you can give it back to me. Hashem says, Hashem nosma, Hashem lokach. So we say, you say Hashem Vayeira. You gave me extra money and I lost the money because to save my back. Otherwise, he would have to die. So if a person does the right thing and he thinks he's losing out, Hashem says, no, no, no. The fact that I gave you and you lost out, I meant it to be that way. Let's say a Baal Tshuva. You have a Baal Tshuva that since he became frum, people told that to me in my community, that they started to keep some kashrus, some Shabbos, the more they keep, the more money they lose, the more friends, they lose everything. And the tenets that all us Kiruv rabbis say, don't you chap how precious it is that the Satan, that the Satan is trying to fight you, he's trying to drain you out, so you should have charot of the good deeds you did, the right thing you did. But it's more than that. What we're saying now is that Hashem gave you the money before in order to lose it, and that sacrifice will give you a much better future. Now, when is this better future? It can be in a few generations, it can be in many generations, it can be now, it can be 5 minutes, 10 years, 100 years. You never know. Avraham Avinu later davens by Sodom, and Hashem doesn't listen to his tefillah. Well, I'm going to get to that a little later. Who said the Chazal teach that later when the Dora Mabul, Dora Floga later in after Mitzrayim, Hashem took that tefillah and saved the Jews then because of Avraham Avinu. With all the promises, there's a lot of promise in these davenings. The Gemara says, uh, uh, um, uh, right? If you kaveya a place to daven, it doesn't say that you daven. If you kaveya a place to daven, is Elokei Avram be'ezroi, the God of Avram. What does that mean? The God of Avram is by his side to help him. What it means is akoveya. Kaveya means you constantly you designated this ula again, and koveya means not one time. Kaveh means it's constant, every day. You daven again and again, but no, Hashem didn't answer my tefillah. Let me give you a little story. There was a bacher, it was getting older bacher. Till now, there were two older bacher than him. And all of a sudden, they both got engaged within 1 week. And boy, oh boy, the whole thing fell on him. Now he's the oldest Bach in yeshiva. And it hit him so hard. And he's by, I don't know what kind of 20-something birthday, mid-20s or high 20s, whatever it is. And he's the oldest Bach. And it's mamish, what's going to be? He's many years in Shidduchim and Segaitnish. And now, that night is going to be his birthday. So, he says, I don't want to be the oldest bacha. They make fun. Yes, they do it in a very nice way, but it's that attention. I don't want that attention. Get me out of this, just let me get out of this alta bacha thing like the champion. I don't want to be an old bachelor champion. I don't want 3 degrees in bachelorette. Look, please. So he decides that afternoon he went to sleep for 2-3 hours and he's rested. Now he's going to start and a jump start even before the evening, and he's going to learn through the whole night. And tomorrow try to chill him and walk around. He wants to invest in that birthday. It's Yom Adin, private Yom Adin, and he wants to say Yeshua for this year. He should for sure get married. So and he goes and mamish, and he starts learning, and he's tired, and he gets up, takes a stender, and he's learning, and then he washes his face, and he takes a drink and another coffee, and then he takes a fruit, something, some and he goes weiter, and he's down to 3 o'clock in the morning, and then his feet just go outside. There's no way he can. He falls asleep standing. He's trying to walk, falling asleep. He can. So he gave up. He's going into bed for a few hours, and he'll get up in the morning and continue. I couldn't go. He learned so fleisig. He comes to his room, and he wants to lay in Krishma and go to sleep. There's a fly in his face, his nose, his ear, and his mamish. He doesn't know what to do. So he wants to. The window has a screen. It wouldn't help. Clearly, the fly came through the door. He wants to open the door. Let the fly out. He closed the light in the room. In the hallway, there's light. The fly is going to, advance to the light. And as soon as he opens the door, he hears somebody explaining Sphira. He says, Sphira? What is it? 3-something, 310, whatever, 305. He says, Rabbeinu Shalom. I forgot about Ma'ariv. I forgot my birthday. I wanted to get it right. I got it wrong. I forgot it. I didn't do Ma'ariv. I didn't do Sphira. So he's so upset. I tried to have such a perfect, like Mamash Yom Kippur, and he wants to, quickly daven Ma'ariv before Alois and getting Krishma and everything, and he decides, no. It's my birthday. We're doing it right. There's no minyan issue, but I'm going back to the Besmedrish. And he goes back to the Besmedrish to do it right, and he's going to daven. And he comes in and he davens Ma'ariv, and he's so sad. He's so tzubrach and he's broken. I mean, Rabbi Shloim, it's my birthday. I wanted to get it right. To daven Ma'ariv like a mensch, and here I almost missed Ma'ariv. Like, why did you do that to me? On the other hand, I'm thankful at least 5 minutes before Allah, you said, at least you remind me then. But why? Like, why? I mean, are you telling me that I won't get my shidduch? I mean, like you're rejecting my tefillah. It felt very rejected. And it came to Elakain Nitzor, the end of Shemoneh Esrei, he broke down. He's crying and crying and crying. And he says, Rebbeinu Shalom, how come I feel so alone? How come you're not with me? How come I don't feel no shidduchim? I didn't do anything, majorly wrong. I battle here, but I'm a nice guy, more overall. And why do I have to go through the bushes and the charpas now? Als the bocher, the kitzer. And then after he cries, he feels better, and he starts smiling, and he's finishing off the last few lines of the Lekai Nitzor. So for your sake, I say Leman Shmecha, I say Leman Yimnecha, to the Sefer, and he's smiling, and he's saying, and he's starting to cry from tears of joy. He says, but I'm alive, but I'm a Jew, but I'm frum, I daven, I do learn, and Mitzvah Hashem, you'll give me the shit. He just felt much better, felt relieved. And he's thanking Hashem at least. I'm sorry, Hashem, I'm sorry. At least you do love me because you remind me I didn't have Ma'ariv. Maybe you wanted a tzibur haaretz. You wanted a yearning. You wanted I should want closeness. I should connect to you. So maybe that's good. At least that. No shidduch, but at least that. And he's smiling and he's finishing off. Shir Lamalis Esaini for the 1,000th time already by the end of Shemoneh Esrei, Segula for Shidduchim. And he says, Ois Shalom. And he says, Aleinu. And he turns around to go quickly say Krishma. And there's a guy there in Shul. Who's the guy? Middle-aged guy. What's with this guy? This guy is a Gvir. This Gvir learned, it was a classmate of the receiver of the yeshiva. And he knew him very well. He kept up with him. He sponsored, he gave him money also for the yeshiva. And he decided that he's coming back from a business trip. He's going to go home. And then he wanted to urgently speak to the yeshiva. He said, let me go. So the plane came a few hours. There was a delay. The connection, the kids came a few hours late. So he was going to come at the end of the day, like 10 o'clock, 11. He ended up coming 3:15 in the morning. And he decided he's going to the yeshiva. He decided 7 o'clock is Shachris. He'll wait till Shachris and he'll speak to his friend and to receive him. Then he'll ask him to give him the best bach. He gives money for the yeshiva, So he's sitting there, and that was intriguing. This bacha was davening with such purity, with such anova, with such humble pie. And this guy took such a liking to this bacha. He had no idea. He says, look, I have money. This guy's clearly in trouble. Who knows if his father, mother, he's talking about operation. I'll pay for the operation. I'll make him happy. Look, he davened Hashem. I never saw somebody davening so pure. I mean, it's amazing. So when the bacha is leaving, he says, excuse me, can I have a word with you? And he says, yeah. What happened? Why are you crying? What happened? Your parents are in the hospital? Operation? You need operation? What happened? I got contacts. And the bacha says, no. He says, no, don't be shy. It happens to all of us. So he told him he was so tzibrochen that he forgot Ma'ariv, and he told him it was El Tzabacha. And he wanted to link Krishma, this flies by, he opened the door, he hears Sphira, and reminds that in his birthday, he wanted to really daven, and he forgot Ma'ariv. How can Hashem? He felt to Brachen alone, and he wanted to connect that yearning, and he davened, and then he cried out to Hashem, and the guy says, wow. So I came here 3 in the morning. I had no idea what I'm doing. You're going to be crazy to travel at night. Who are you going to meet 3 in the morning? And I came late. So I said, I'm going to the yeshiva. I'm not going to go home and then schlep in the morning. I'm going to be tired. So let me just take care of this. A few weeks I'm trying to do it, and I can never get to it. I'm not far away. And he, from the airport, he trapped. And here I find, so I'm staying for Shachris, and he tells the boy, and I'm going to ask the Rosh Hashiva to be the Shachris, which is my daughter and you. And if you like it, you take it. Nicht is nicht. And the Bocher didn't know what hit him. He goes to the dormitory. And a Krishma Shalamita he had like never before. He's crying tears of joy. Hey, you forgot Ma'ariv, and it turns out it was for love. It was out of love that Hashem did it to him. It wasn't because of punishment. So when a person davens and he fails, nechtige Tag. We don't know. We don't know. Avraham davened and his einikel are getting paid. A person suffered and he's getting paid later. So every little thing Hashem has a cheshbon. Yesh din just dying in a positive way also. And I'm just jumping for a second. Elikim nisas Avraham. It's elikim midas adin. Is nisas Avraham by Akeidas Yitzchok. Why midas adin? What's pshat the midas adin? So we'll get to that hopefully later. But the point is, even the Midas Adin is meluvish berachmim. Avram's tefillah was that by Sodom and Vayeira, he'd be lovish berachmim. We'll get back a little later. Let's go back here. So Mamre tells Avram, do the right thing. You never lose by doing the right thing. And for that, Rashi says, that was the Eitzah, to do the right thing. In other words, don't do it the Akeidas, don't do it quietly, do the right thing and let people see, as an example. So I think the Rosh Alatorah says that. I don't remember, but I saw it. There's another terrace of Mamre. Mamre is Avram, last week's parsha, Himoil Yimoil, right? In English and other languages, it'll be translated. He should certainly do that. But in Lashon Kodesh, there's always a lesson there. If it's twice the same word, Himo means himo. First, you take the oxygen, the mask, and then you put on yimo. You put on the oxygen mask on the children, right? So if you don't eat and don't sleep and don't take care of yourself, it's very hard to love and be kind to people. No, you're sacrificing, you can't do real chesed. Real chesed is not in that way. Havas chesed is not. I want to jump for a second. Ve'ekcho pas lechem. This is a pshat that I understand. I don't know if that's pshat, but I'm sure some Chassidish Rebbe has to say that. Ve'ekcho pas lechem is ve'ekcho, I will also eat pas lechem. V'sadu lipchen, then you'll be full. This is a pshat that occurred to me. This is many years ago. I used to learn it in Israel many years ago, decades ago. And when I learned in Yisrael, there was a friend from America that he came from Yisrael to America to learn in yeshiva with me, and then later when I went to Yisrael, he went to Yisrael, and then he found me one Shabbos in Yerushalayim in the shul. So we come to shul, Avinoim Yellen, Yoel Avinoim Yellen over there. So I come in, and he jumps on me. You heard in Yisrael? Yeah, in Yisrael. How long? A few months, and I came for Shabbos. He said, you have to come eat by me. So I went to eat by him. I didn't know, but he lives like a half hour away from shul, uphill, all over Bar Ilan. For me, was Bar Ilan was with the demonstrations were. I mean, that's like out of the city already. And then Shmuel Hanavi, and then further, some I forgot whatever the place is, whatever it's called, Sanhedrin. I forgot what. And so today, many, there's a whole area, new area of 30 years old, whatever it is. Then what? You don't have that. I'm walking like out of town. I come to his house. His father's an Erlechi that tzaddik. His mother's a tzaddikis. Dad, together with the father, the mother had about 10 people. And they, two little challahs with a drop of food, they weren't eaters. I'm a bach. A bach is always hungry, especially Shabbos. And you just let me out there, and I walked out twice as hungry for the walk itself, but I walked twice as hungry. If I take this to Essen, If you don't eat, verstehst du das Essen, you won't be v'sadu libchem, you won't be saturated, you won't be full. Mit that verstehen zu the fest, you don't know yourself, you can't help others. If you're yourself deprived, if you don't take care of your issues, your children are going to get the same abuse that you got, the same bullying, the same everything. There's no, there's no, there's no. You got to learn how to enjoy life in order. If you don't enjoy life, nobody's going to want to sit next to you by a Shabbos tish. You got to enjoy a shtik essen and a shazmiris and a Yiddish. You got to enjoy it, not overdo it. It's like, what's salt? Why Netziv Melach? She didn't give salt. The other pshat, she gave too much salt. Well, what is salt? Salt is, we said that by Karbonis, right? Salt doesn't live for itself. Salt itself is horrible. But you take this mineral and you add it on, it brings out the enem's taste. It's this thing. It's for you, brings out your taste, not its taste. If you over love and you over salt, you choke him with your love and your hugs. The guy was just leave me alone. I can't handle it. So it's drowning. So you have to take care of yourself. Very important before you take care of Yenim. So Mamre says, Himol Yimol, first do it yourself. So the Mefarshim said it's a Rishonim that people were dying. He was doing a bris on Yenim. Why didn't he want to do himself? Because he said, if I'll do a bris, he'll be sick. He'll be out of order. He won't be able to do bris on Yenim. So he figured he'll first do a bris on Yenim, and then he'll do himself. But people are dying. There's something say, Oner Eshkel died. And Mamre said, stop, Avraham. Avraham, first you do on yourself and then on me. Who should not eat salamila? No, first you put on your mask, eat. Noach had to eat before. Usually you have to feed the animal. Noach, you have to feed people. So I mean the animals, you have to resaturate yourself. If you don't if you fill yourself up, overflowing, you can be a blessing unto others. You have to take in knowledge in order to flow knowledge to others. You have to understand the complexity of life, to study it, to be ma'ayin in it, to observe it, to analyze it, and then you can only help people. Otherwise, if is good about life, how could you help people? There's so many people, they learn Shas and Dalit Chelke, and they're so well versed, but they ask them for eights. It sounds like you're talking to this dumbest person, champion dumb. He's not connected. It's one word he's missing, and it's one of the main words in Judaism. It's called awareness. If you don't have awareness, you have nothing. Avram Avinu's first thing, hikir, is boy, hikir. That's the first word we know about Avram. Hikir, he had awareness. He had awareness of himself and awareness of the surrounding. He had awareness that don't stop everybody. Don't ever know when you control, you have to control everybody and you have to, bully around everybody. Awareness. How does the other guy feel about this? How do you feel about if you be done to you? What do you feel you have to be controlling whatever? So Mamri tells him, Himol Yimol, first you do it. And then everything was good. Avram did a bris, and then he and others. And he sits Pesach oil. So the Chazal teach is sitting by the Pesach from Gan Eden, and if somebody is mol, he takes him in. What does that mean? If somebody has a bris, Avram tells the Satan, I'm Malach Hamov Satan, and then look. It's not yours. He's on my list. He has a bris. He's in the covenant. That's it. Don't mix into my business. This is my business. And if somebody doesn't have a bris and he dies, then you have to do a bris on him before you do the kfura, which I did in Lvav. Why? Why? Because Avraham Avinu is Yosef Pesach oil. So he's Yosef Pesach oil, and Lakim needs a badas keil. Hashem stands. He sits by Dayanim. Okay. The next Kechoy Mayom. What's Kechoy Mayom? Kechoy Mayom is Pesach. He sits by Gehenim, and he doesn't let them in. If you have a bris, he says no. You not take him in. He's coming with me. But another pshat, Pashup pshat Kechoy Mayom. How does Avram know if somebody is a malach or not? Because of the shade. If there's tzeil in Hebrew, tzeil in Lashon Kodesh, tzeil, if there's no shade, then it's a malach. A spiritual being doesn't have a shade. Only a physical being. So how do you know if it's an illusion that it's only a malach and it looks like a person if there's no shade? That's all good if it's not Choymayim. What does Choymayim mean? The maximum sun, that's exactly Sheishois. Like by Moshe Rabbeinu, by the Egel Azov, by the golden calf, it says, he boy sheish Moshe. What does the Gemara say? Boy sheish, bo sheish, king the sixth hour. You divide from the beginning, from light to dark, and you divide into 12 halakim. In the middle, the sixth, that's the tzois. By the sixth hour, the strongest light, when it's right on top of you, there's no shade. Even by a physical human being, there's no shade. So it was Kechleim Yemsa. Avram didn't know. Malachim were people. He thought it's people. So next pasuk. Vayisa ina vayar. V'neshloisha noshim nitzavim vayar. Twice vayar. Once he saw, once he understood. At Derezen in Yiddish they say, Vayorotz likrosim me pesach oil vayishtachu aretz. It's likrosim. He ran towards them. What does that mean towards them? Instead of saying Vayorotz achareihem, it could have said he ran after them. No, he didn't run after them. He ran because there was something strange. They're people. The Oivd Avodah Zorah lady tells them, wash rachzu raglechem, wash your feet. Ma avak Avodah Zorah. Okay, I have a pshat. I said other times, no time now. Why avak? But the point is that the Shechina is here, so you walk backwards. You don't put you back to the Shechina. So they're walking backwards. He says, "Oh, these guys verstehen something. They're not totally ignorant. They're walking backwards." So Vayorotz likrosam, he ran towards them. Now, the Torah says, where did he run towards them? From where? What's an afkaman? He ran towards them. Why is he running towards them? Because they're going away. Vayar, the second he understood that they're going away. So if he understands they're going away, he's running. How many times did myself and my kids, my wife and my kids and myself, how many times did we run after guests? They came in, we thought, what happened to this guy? They were embarrassed to sit down by the meal. So we ran and we got them back in. So Vayoretz. So what's enough given to me Pesach oil? So the Gemara says that to a mitzvah you run, and from a mitzvah you don't run. It looks like you're running away. You're running away. You don't like the mitzvah. That's embarrassing. You don't run away from a shul. You run towards a shul. So what do you do if you have a mitzvah? So if you have one mitzvah and you have another mitzvah, so what do you do from the first mitzvah, second mitzvah? If you have to run to mitzvah, what do I do about the second mitzvah? So Chazal teach that if you have a mitzvah that's b'shovah, so then you walk halfway, then you run. When you walk at the beginning, you walk as if it's difficult to get away, and then you can start running. What happens if the second mitzvah is bigger than the first mitzvah? It's greater in greatness. Then the second mitzvah, you don't have to start walking and then run. You can run right away. That's Vayoretz. He ran towards the second mitzvah, right away from the beginning. Why? Why? So from here we learn that Chnas HaSorchim is bigger than Kabbalah's Bnei Shechina. That running to do chesed, to do benevolence to others, to be beneficial to others, is greater than Kabbalah's Bnei Shechina, than standing in the Kodesh HaKadosh, the Holy of Holies, on Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol, and by Ne'ilah. It's not Ne'ilah, it's during the day, the Ketores, but the point is, in the holiest time, in the holiest place, the holiest person, much more to do chesed rather than to be with the Shekhinah. And the question is, first of all, how did he know that? Well, Pasha. So my father always says that because he worked out his body, when he saw the heilige body running towards, he knew it was right. I think it's pshat. But Pasha, you can say Pasha pshat. If Hashem took out the Chama, he took out the sun, and he made it shine, he could have put these signs, but you have by the door, by us, you have signs in all the stores. It's whatever. Vichinna, no, it's closed. Closed. So you put the sign, Chanos Sarchim is not working today. Why? Renovation. Why? I'm not guest today. I'm sorry. The restaurant is not open. We have event as a Sheva Brachas there. No, it's not open for regular clients. Avraham Avinu could have said, I have the Shekhinah here. So Hashem had to bring out the sun. That means that even if the Shekhinah is there, I would still have to feed the guest. And that was his raya, that you run, that's even more important. But if to go in a little deeper, to to be with Hashem or to be part of Hashem. You can be with Hashem, guest with the father, with whatever, the rabbi, the king, whatever it is, that the president, the prime minister. Moshe Feinstein, this is such an important lesson. Moshe Feinstein, they opened the yeshiva for him in Staten Island with a campus much greater than a little tiny sidewalk, ground that had and the little backyard of the Yeshiva Tveres Yerushalayim in Manhattan. So they opened a big Rachlis without all the pretzes. You had to go with the ferry boat to Staten Island. In those times, there was no Verrazano Bridge, and they have größere campuses, and it's no pretzes, and Harchavas Hadas, peace of mind, and so he sent Reb Reuven, his younger son, to be the yeshiva there, and to set it all up and to run it, and he had shvere shailas, and every second that you called him up, he had another phone call of a shaila Ramosha. So yeah. So for such questions, you have to go down. So he travels to Manhattan, and he comes to his father, and the whole day wants to get in these few questions. It was not even 5 minutes, literally not 5 minutes. And he waited the whole day, went home with nothing. The second day with nothing. 3 days with nothing. And the Meister Feinstein is sitting there every second. He realizes he'll be here for 3 years. He won't get 5 minutes. So he shared his frustration with his father. I said, for the ganze Welt hat Zeit, that my father has time. For me, you got no time, not even 3 minutes, 5 minutes. I needed this for your yeshiva. I'm doing it for you. You wanted me to do it. I'm listening, but I don't know what to do. I have a dilemma here. And Ramosha turns to him, of course I'll listen to you. But the question is, he told him these Moridika words. He said, do you want to be the Amcha, the regular people, the guest, even rabbis, or you want to be my family? If you want to be somebody else, I'll listen to you before anybody else. But if you want to be part of my family, so I sacrifice, my wife sacrifices, my children and Enika, we all sacrifice for the Gans Klal Yisrael. If you want to be part of that, yes, you can wait 3 days without having 5 minutes for yourself. Because if you're better, you'll get 5. But if you want to be part of me, in other words, not better. If you want to be better off, so if you want to be part of me, it's much better than being better off. I'll give you an example. I always told my close ones, tactfully, it's much better not to be a chassid of a certain kela. Tactfully, it's much better not to be a talmud of a certain Rosh Hashiva. Because if you're a talmud or chassid, you get treated like garbage. Why garbage? Because you're part of the family. You don't get special attention. When you travel to a Rebbe, you pay a few $1,000s for ticket and room and board another 1,000, then another 1,000 for presents and whatever. And you come out with $5,000 for 2 days standing on your feet and not eating and sleeping normally, not having normal toilets and mikveh with 10,000 people there. And the Rebbe, if it's a smaller Hasidus of 5,000, at least he'll look at you. At least he'll say hello to you. Maybe he'll give you a hand if it's possible. But a Rebbe with 10, 20, 30,000 Hasidim, you don't even get to see him. If you're a short guy, you're Bechal. If you're not a pushing guy, you don't get Bechal to see him. And he says one l'chaim for 1,000 people at a time, one shake. What do you see? What do you know? But if you're a fremde, just put on a different type of hat, a different type of garb, they're tired. It's a fremde. Oh, now he's not a citizen yet, so be nice to him. Be nice to him. He's a guest. He's a neighbor. He's a nephew. He's not a kid. Be a lot more. You'll be better off. But the question is, do you want to be my flesh and blood, or you want to be my neighbor? or you want to be my guest that I'm nice to. Often way. To be with the Shekhinah is fine and vile, but to be his extension, be part of him, is a lot better than Kabbalah's Pnei Shekhinah. To do achnosas orchim is to mahu racham afat racham. That's to cleave to him. That's because to dvekus Hashem to come part and parcel. Now there's one staple here. The staple is that it has to be l'shem shemaim. If you do it for yourself, forget it. But you got to do it because he told you, not because your nature is tested. Your nature is loving to feel good when you make somebody else feel good. That's not what it's about. It's when my nature is fakir, and I'm doing it because you told me to, and or you didn't tell me, but you want me to do it. So that's the main part of it. So now we're going back to Mamre for a second. And what's Mamre telling Avraham Avinu? Mamre is telling Avraham Avinu, I know your nature is chesed and kindness and blood, not to spill blood. But b'damai chayi, what does b'damai chayi means? When your nature is not to spill blood, and you go against your nature. Elikim nisa sabram, you go against your nature. Now you're becoming a mitzvah voice. So Mamre tells Avram, don't do the bris, third pshat. Don't do the bris right away. Wait to have it tzivui. Let there be a commandment from Hashem. Avram wants to right away do it. No, it's the only thing Hashem is commanding you. Please, wait for it. I know you want to do it. You want to do all the mitzvahs, but this one mitzvah, wait till Hashem gives it to you. When He gives you the command, be mitzvah against your will. And, I wanted to take out the garbage, and the wife take out the mitzvah is when people tell you what to do, and you don't like when they tell you what to do, and you do it anyway. It's a lot more important than the actual hula that you did, whatever it is that they asked you to do. So let's go on. Please don't go away. Either he's telling Hashem don't go away, or he's telling him the malachim, which they were dressed like people, don't go away. So why do we dress like people by light malachim? Because light is a faker. He doesn't have chesed. He has no credentials in chesed. He has no chusim in chesed because light. Lamaisa, he only took a malachim. He took the big dignitaries. Yes, he was moisa nefesh. But what about simple people? Were you also moisa nefesh? No. So Avraham Avinu, they came as simple human beings. He'll take them in anyway. Loit, if they're not a malach, he won't accept them. You have to be a grace knack. Then he wants you in this circle. So he says, "Yukat no madvrach shonu tachas eitz." Lean under the tree. What's this tree? It's a special tree, by the way. The Chazal teaches this tree was the the middle pole that went inside the Keroshim, the walls of the Mishkan had a pole inside, right? In the middle, there was a pole to hold it all together. And this pole was made out of this tree. This tree was a special tree. If somebody was a terrible person, the tree kept the way it was. But if there's such a thing that we have today that everybody knows. You have flowers and plants in an office or an apartment, and the person is a bad person. They all die. They crumble. They sex and they bend and they get out of shape and that. But if it's a very good energy there, good vibes and positivity, it blossoms like anything. It's a well-known thing today. I myself saw it in certain places, but that's not the point. The point is, this Chinese thing with water. If you say it's like 25 years ago or something, that if you say positive words, it looks like snowflakes, beautiful designs. It has a working, has influence on it. So Avram's tree had an influence. It was a special tree that if there was guests that good people, so the tree like the flower opens up right and it closes, the tree bent over its branches so to totally create a shade. They shouldn't be so affected by this, very strong the heat wave. So, but if somebody wasn't so the tree stayed normal. It says Vishonu tachas eitz, and that showed Avram who they were right away. If he didn't chop himself. Um, okay. Vayeira Avraham Hoyala El Sora. I'm skipping here, and then he says, "Mani shloishim." Okay, bread, and she started to see her period and kitzah, and so vasi ugois because whatever. If somebody is a needy, the bread, whoever you'll get to know it one day. So how many boker did he take? Well, if he gets three lashonis, three tongue. So he needs three bakar. Why is the el habakar not bakarim? One bakar. So Chazal teach he ran after one bakar. Two he had, and the third one, what's it called? The third one ran away, and he ran after it, and he ran after it, and ran after it, and then he found it in a cave. What was the cave? It was Maris Machpelah, and which by the Maris Machpelah he felt the ruach from Gan Eden, something so special. So he asked about and investigated, and he found out that's where Adam Chaber are, and that's the entrance to Gan Eden over there. So he said he wants this place. So he had an assignment, sort of a failure. He had to run after it. It was very painful. He's Mila. He heard after Bris, but it turns out that was the moment that he understood why Hashem took him there. So now he wants to be buried with his wife there and so on because of Gan Eden. Weiter, it's Malach Refoil. And Refoil is Par'el. The letters of Refoil is Par'el, a por of God. Now, what's pshat in that? What is that when he came there, he found out that he went there for naught. Why? It was really a malach. It looked like Bokar, but it wasn't. And it looked like a cow, but a bull, but it was really a malach. And he came there, he ran for nothing, and then the malach revealed to him, the place, and it's okay, Shabbat. So he comes back, he needs a third tongue. So also about here is Vaygachem v'cholov, and the shaila is, what about the boss of v'cholov? So many answers. One of them, first he gave chema v'cholov, and then he gave him the uvena boker ashos lifneim. But the point is, ashos v'itin lifneim. So what's another pshat is uvena boker asher osa. He had to make another boker on the spot with the Sefer Yitzir. He created another boker, and that wasn't a real boker. That's not boss of v'cholov, and therefore they were able to eat it. Okay, it doesn't stem with Chazal about Moshe Rabbeinu. Yed boss of v'cholov. The Torah is not for you. Kitzur, but according to one of the pshat. So Ubena Bokar Ash'asa, he made it. He made it with Shem. I'm afraid, with the Kabbalistic Shemus. Vayitin lefneim put a voy medin tachzal yichei. Shay. Vayomer eluf Sarah ishtecha. Vayomer hine v'oil. Why is that important? That they asked where's Sarah, and he said hine v'oil. And look weiter. And he says Vayomer shoy v'oshev v'lecha keis chayo v'hine vein l'Sarah ishtecha. Now, I'm going to come back. I'm going to return in a year from now. V'hine vein l'Sarah ishtecha. What does that mean? Ka'es chaya. It's a joke, but there's a lot of truth to it. Avraham Avinu has a son. He has a son Yishmael, but they're not happy with that, and they tell him, "No, Ka'es, what you have now is a chaya, chayro. But v'hine vein, a son that has bina, that has awareness, understanding, and depth. L'sorah ishtecha. It's not the religion, that very philosophical religion. If you take it, yeah. If not, I take off your head. Oh, you're more like a philosophical religion. No, there's going to be rational. Vine bein is bina. To understand the depth. A bein is ein l'sorah ishtecha. A son will be to sorah ishtecha with awareness, not forcing himself on everything. Not yod b'kol v'yad kol boy. So he tells him, the Sorah Shrimas Pesach Oil V'hu Acharav. Sorah listens by the Pesach Oil V'hu Acharav. Who's this V'hu? Okay, Machloikis like always. No, one of the pshatim is it's Yishmol Acharav. What does that mean? He's by the Pesach of her oil, and Vahu Acharov. So here's a little shot, and then we'll get more to the Vahu Acharov means Yitzchok is behind the door. Why? Because the Malach is going to Avraham, and then he's going to go to the light. Why does he have to come first to Avraham? So Chazal teach that, okay, I'll get to it in a second, just let me finish with Yishmael. So Yishmael is behind the door. Now the Malach goes behind the door to find out, and in a second we'll see more why. But he goes to, if it's true what Avram says, he says, where's Sarah? And we ask, what is his business? So Rashi says, they ask, about, uh, husband, wife, husband. Okay, sure. He's going to check if it's true that Avram says Hine Boil. And he's going in there, there'll be Yichud. And there'll be Yichud, and you have the laws of Saita. And if the laws of Saita, she'll have to drink the Me'amorim Hamorim. And if she drinks, V'niksa V'nizra Zara. So she's going to have a baby. If she's clean, V'nizra Zara. If she doesn't have children, she'll have a son. And if she has, she'll have a easier later, easier birth, and so on and so forth. So Yishmael says, what? He's going to be miyachad b'tzara in the oil, and then there'll be may hamorim may saita, and then she'll become pregnant, and then there'll be a son Yitzchok, and then I'll have a competition, and then there'll be another inheritor, another Yiddish. Nah, I'm standing in the room. There's no yichud. Don't drink may saita, and don't become pregnant. He doesn't want any competition. He wants to be the single only Yiddish. Right. Now let's get to this whole light story. Light, I'm not going to the meaning of light, the whole concept of light, but light more or less found his place, Vayeira ad Sodom, slowly to Sodom, and he became the great shayfit over there, Mamish Aknak. Now light loves money, and he's in it for the money. He followed Avraham because of the money Tetz Yisrael. He heard that Avraham, Hashem tells me to be rich. He heard him talk to his wife. So Lloyd follows, and then Vita money and all about money. And what happened to Lloyd? Lloyd ended up as Shikavi Lloyd expression. He's drunk like Lloyd with nothing. All his money, everything. He lost everything. His status, nothing. Because he didn't connect to Nitzchias. It was all about the money. It was all about COVID and everything else. Now, I wanna bring up this Maisa because it's a scary story. And Moshe Feinstein was a rabbi, I don't know where, before the war in Eastern Europe. And Moshe Feinstein told a story that he was once called to somebody's house. The guy is dying, and all of a sudden, what happened? The kid said he went and he saw the guy's tongue so blown up, it blew up and it stuck out of his mouth, and he was choking, and he was barely breathing from his nose, and he can barely talk. He can't understand what he's saying. And this is like all of a sudden. And they called the rabbi what to do, and he asked him what happened, and he said he spoke the day before against lights. What kind of shame is that? How could David HaMelech, right, Rus and Namo, how could they come out of Rus out of Moav and Nama out of Amoin? How could such future of Klal Yisrael come from this lowly light? And his daughters, especially the daughters, he was shikah. They knew better. How lowly they had a baby with their father, and the sisters. Two daughters of light came to him in a chalav. Their face was covered, so he didn't see who they were, but they said they were the daughters of light. And because he besmirched them, and he mamish spoke so terribly against them that they don't deserve it, they're taking him to Shemayim, to court case. And there's a one-way ticket. He's not coming back. And because he spoke with his tongue blew up, and he's going to die from that. That's what they told him. He told the rabbi, "There's nothing to do but please spread the story." And Moshe was shuddered. I mean, he was in shock. And the second the guy finished telling him, barely spoke, but the few words, he turned his face and he died on the spot in front of Moshe Feinstein. That's how. And Moshe always told the story that you can't judge. You don't know what really goes on, what people's intentions were, if it was for Hashem's sake or for the continuation of the generations. You can never know. Don't judge Yen, don't judge Yen, don't judge Yen. So now let's get to the story about the Malach. The same Malach that came to tell Sarah about a baby. In other words, the same Malach came to save light and turn over Sodom and so on. So you had three Malachim, and two of them, one came to heal. Okay, all machlokes over here, but all in all, three Malachim. But they had four shlichusim. So the point over here is like the Malach the Malach to come and save light on what smach, on, uh, on what premises could you save light? Light went to Sodom. Sodom was the worst thing. Now, why Sodom was the worst thing, that's a different shaila. But if the Torah says that Sodom was the worst thing, so let's give it. It's a given. That's it. I'm not going into right now. Sodom is going to be turned over into gofres va'esh, eish, because they would burn somebody that fed guests. Salt, because they didn't give salt in the food and so on. There were sorrow in the orchem and everything else. Why? Because they had too much. They were very. Um, they were enriched with gold and silver. It was the most precious piece of land in the world. And instead of sharing, they said, "Oh, look at this! Hey, don't come and touch my thing. This is mine. Shali, shali, shalach, shalach, whatever the." Now, Lloyd was perfectly fine with that, so he should be saved. He says, "Ef she belekoi." In other words, I don't want my uncle Avraham. I don't want to. He's the God of Israel, of Avraham, Yitzchok, and Yaakov. So why should it be saved? And here's the point: Avraham Avinu says, "Lloyd, okay, you're nobody. But your daughters are going to have children, and their children, I'm going to moiv. I need David Amelech. In other words, Rus and Namo, also connected to David Amelech. But the point is that it's not you; it's generations later are going to save the grandparents because I need them to be alive. I need Mashiach ben David. So for that, the question is, the Gemara has a grace Shiloh. I'm sorry, it's way before the Gemara. Oyas comes to the market where the Besdin is, the entrance of the city next to the waters, which always was. People lived next to waters because they needed water to survive. And over there was the Grace's Besdin, and Boyas comes and says, if you don't take the Goyal doesn't take what's it called, like Nomi, but through Nomi Rus, then I'll be the Goyal and I'll take Rus. So the big question over there was, how could you? The Gemara, the Torah says, "Lo yovi ha'amoini mo yovi b'kol Hashem." You're not never gonna. I feel. Adoy rasidi lo yovi b'kol adoy forever. Even this world next, you can never take somebody. Why? First reason the Torah gives, Allah should al dvara should lo yikidim eschem b'lechem mayim mitzvaderchem tzeis mitzrayim. They didn't give you food. They didn't greet you with food and water when on the way out of the Mitzrayim. So what's the kasha against them? The kasha is against them. You're ingratitude. You're ingrates. You don't have gratitude. Avram Avinu, Hashem send him malachim. Avram fought for light, number one, and here he saved light. But moreover, Avram fought for light last week's parsha. Avram fought for light. He saved you, and now you have descendants. You owe it to Avram's Einiklos. At least bread and water. Please bread and water. And if you don't have the money, comes the Torah with the second shot. But to curse the Jews to pay Bilam avail the money that you did have, but to give them a little bread and water you don't have. Where's your coffee type? For coffee type, you're not allowed to get married to a coffee type. So the kasha is, how can he marry? How can Boaz marry Rus? You're not allowed to marry a Moavi. So says the Gemara. So they told him, the Torah says, a Moavi, but not Veloy Moavis. And amoini veloy amoinis. What does that mean? Because al dvara shaloi kidum esem belechem mayim, they didn't greet you with bread and water on the way when you left from Egypt. So the Gemara says, Shlomo Melech the kol kavod bas melech pnima. A lady is the interior minister. The husband is the foreign minister. He goes out to greet people out of the city country. The lady is in charge of the kids in the house. She's the queen at home. She's in charge of the home. Now, I'm not so. There's not. Ladies can go work. I mean, they should. Even if they have enough money not to work, they should go work. They should go out to meet people. Ladies that don't go meet people, they don't dress up. They don't freshen up as much, they're with rags. No, they have to go out and give life to people. You always have to be beneficial, not only to your family. Family comes first. Go volunteer. If you don't need the money, go volunteer. But go out of the house. Take your kids with you and let them join into your chesed if possible. Little babies not, but the point is they should always go out for sure. Not because they need the money, not because they have to work, but be beneficial. Go out to the world. Don't be stuck in the house. Of course, but not when it comes to going out of country. My amoini v'lo amoinis, mayavi v'lo mayavis. So therefore, they weren't charged. They don't have it against them. The fact that they didn't go out to greet the people. There's no business of ladies going to meet the other men, and therefore the Torah says no. Moini not, moyavi not, moyavi moini not, but moyavis, a lady, and a moinis could get married. Now, how do they know that? The only way they know that is the same way you know. How do you know the Mikdash? How do you know the base of Mikdash? How do you know the Mishkan? What does that resemble? The Mishkan, the base of Mikdash? It's a copy of the house of Avraham Avinu. Everything that happened to Avraham Avinu had the ripple effect into the Mishkan and the Mikdash. It's with the onan ala oil and the onan on the base on the Mishkan. It has the Ner Dolkos Mishabbos l'Shabbos. That's the same in the Mishkan also. And that the candle lit for the whole, for the full time, not only the few hours that was meant to and the flowers were fresh from week to week, like the lesson in the Lechem Apurim, like in the house of Sodom. And later, subsequently, when Yitzchok, the next week's parsha, gets married to Rivka, he saw the same things, although they didn't meet each other. And he said, "Oh, this is the one because it reflects the Shekhinah, reflects a house, a Jewish house, with a Shekhinah Shoyim." So they had to come check Avram's house before they went to Sodom. They come, Aye Sarah Stefan, where's Sarah? Is she outside or inside? Is she busy with the men the whole time? Or with a teretz chesed? Or she's inside taking care, humble. And they went to check on, he says, Hine Boil, if she's doing her job, a homey type of person. So now we can save light because Rus can get married to Boaz. Why? Because it's my avi v'loy my avis. Why? Because kol kavod bas melech pnima. The honor of a bas melech, of a daughter of a prince, should be covered. You take a diamond, you have a box. You don't go out and preaches. You got to be respectful, and therefore you got to be presentable. You got to be classy, and therefore, for that reason, my office is mutter to marry, and hence we have David Melech. Hence we're around because I'm a of David Melech, like many other thousands of Jews. So going back after, the Vatinitziv Melech, because of salt, she gave too little or too much. Too little means no taste in the food. So the whole salt is to bring chesed, bring you out, the food out, the taste of food. She didn't want to bring out the taste. In the Betzora, her she was stingy on guests. No chesed over there. So I think it's now the truth is that Lloyd stayed there because of the money. Otherwise, he would have left early. Then it would he okay. It was last week already. I spoke about right. Vavrom the son of Zakanim boy by Yomim. And all of a sudden, she gets back, a period, and then she becomes young again. And Yitzchok Sodom Bekir Belema, she laughed. Why did she laugh? Laugh means you're surprised, but let's go back. Okay. All of a sudden, she gets back a period. She becomes young again, and sort of capable of having children again. Vadoni is okay. So Hashem says, "Loma ze, loma ze tzachok kasoro." Why did Sarah laugh? Leimor. Ha'af umnum eled v'ani zakanti. So Hashem changes. Hashem says that she said she was old because to make shalom. Okay, mutar l'shanas b'nei shalom. I pull him Hashem dover. What's the whole halach over here? Avram last week laughs when Hashem tells him he's going to have a kid, and he called him Yitzchok. Yitzchok means taich. The translation, he will laugh. Yitzchok in the future will laugh. That means the Jews will have the last laugh. But here, shot over here is if Hashem says that you laughed, Sarah, Avram laughed, but Avram laughed out of joy. What does that mean? Out of joy. Uh, when you have the truth, like smacking, confront you, the truth. Oh, I didn't have that. And the truth surprises you. Well, that's stuck in the way that when you imitate somebody, that's what the rabbi always said. Yeah. I mean, it's stuck as when you bring that awareness, that truth, and it's a surprise, you start laughing. You can't believe. Yeah, stuck as So Avram laughed. Hashem said, "You're gonna have a baby." So Avram laughed. He says, it's not that he didn't believe. He believed it, but it was shocking because Hashem promised him, you go with me. I come to Yisrael. I'll give you children, and now Hashem tells me he's getting it. That it was so. Sarah Menu sort of the same thing. So why does Hashem have tinus? But if Hashem has tinus, that means Hashem Yira Elikim Yira Lalevav. He sees inside, and he said, obviously there's something wrong. What is wrong with Sarah? Sarah says, "I became young, but my husband is old. So what's the problem? The problem is everybody's going to say that she had a baby through Avimelech. Why? Because Avram is too old. They're going to say, you're going to tell me that Cluster Ponov, his face looks identical to his father. Well, if she she got pregnant, she had in mind that person. Says, I'll teach that you can get that same face even though it's not from that person. So therefore, it's not a raya. So so what is she laughing? It's going to be Hashem. So what's Hashem's tainus? She has a good taina. Hashem says, "How you pull him, Hashem dover." It reminds me this. I forgot which Shiva it was. When a few dozens of years ago, they said the story, and I don't know how old the story is, but I remember it from the Yeshiva days. And they said the bocher comes into Rav, he wants to go work. And the Rav says, "Why do you want to go work? Why don't you sit in Yeshiva and learn?" He says, "Yeah, but I want to prepare a few years before my chasana, so I should have enough money to buy a dira and to buy, whatever I need. I should be settled like this. I get married, And Rav looks at me and he says, "Oh, Mammon Veina Mammon. Yeah, what Miktani Amana." He says, "No. So you don't have a muna, I see." He says, "Of course I have a muna. You're Balamuna, yeah? So let me ask you a question. Mom and baby to mom. So he asks him a question. He says, "Do you believe that you will live tomorrow? Maybe you'll drop dead." He says, "Drop dead, chas v'sholem." He says, "But maybe you won't make it tomorrow. Maybe I don't know. Somebody's going to have to call this ever kaddish, if you know what I mean. Do you have a plot of land? I mean, you should get prepared for that. Don't you want to buy yourself a plot of land before you might die way before you get married?" And he's like, like the Shiva shouldn't be so harsh. He said, I'm getting started. 1 second. And let's say you make it alive. Who says you're going to find a shidduch? I mean, who says anybody's going to want you? What do you mean? I'm a good bacher. I don't know, but maybe tomorrow you won't be a good bacher. Well, you got to get Yitzhara. You have to go work tomorrow. You might, No, I'm doing that of a chrayas. Yeah, sure. And what happens if you don't find a shidduch? It says David should tell them have a shidduch. Okay. So mom and Vaina. All right, I get it. And then what happens? Who says you're gonna have kids? What do you mean? I'm having mishpacha. Maybe you'll have to wait. Even if you have a kid, maybe you'll have to wait 20 years. And then let's say you'll have kids. Maybe they'll be sick and you have to be in the hospital day and night and you won't need a dita. The kids, he started to go off and off and the bocher is like totally white, there's glass. He's mamish. I never heard somebody curse him like that. But Rashida says no. Well, what's the teretz? The teretz you telling me every second? Maybe should tell from chas v'shalom, David tells me. Chas v'shalom, David should tell him. So Hashem can give you life, and it can give you happiness, and it can give you a shidduch, and it can give you children, it can give you health, but it can't give you a few pennies. Li akesef v'li you're worrying about him? Says Hashem, how you pull him, Hashem dover. I can give you life, and I can give you a baby at 90 years old, and I can't give you Avraham should be healthy. Why not? I pull him Hashem dover. Is there anything that Hashem can't do? It's too wondrous for Hashem to do. So that was the time. Okay, I want to jump. It's very late, but I want to jump for a second. Please bear with me. And he says Avram is davening for Sodom. Why is he davening for Sodom? So we have to get into this topic. I'll get into it a little later, but one thing, one little point I want to say over here. Maybe Chamishim Tzadikim. What's Chamishim? Chamishim Tzadikim is 5 cities, a minyan for every city. If there's a minyan is wholesomeness. All the 10 numbers is wholesomeness. You have what he has, he doesn't have. What he has, he doesn't have. In other words, everybody fills in and complements whatever the other person doesn't have. He fills in, complementing each other's needs and not compliment in the way giving a compliment, filling in each other's needs. And in that sense, for those that don't know the spoken language of English, that's what it means: compliment each other, to fill in whatever. So also means to give a compliment, because that's also fulfilling other person. If a person wants to live up to that standard that you said about me. Okay, Shane. So you have 5 cities, so 10 people from it. So 10 people you bring a coil of 10 people, it can change the whole city. It changes the dynamics of the city. A certain light of holiness comes into that city. That's why every city that you brought in a coil there, the city changes. Unless they're not tuned in, it's got to be L'Shem Shemaim. So Avram says you bring in a minyan every day, it saves the city. And if it can save the city, so maybe at least you'll save the tzaddikim in that city. You won't kill everybody, but you'll kill the bad people, but the tzaddikim is saved. And Hashem says, Master. The question, why is Avram, he's the polar opposite of Sodom. He's the Amud Chesed, he's davening for them. So here's the point. People don't chap. I want to bring this awareness. It's something that I spoke last week about tolerance for people that don't live up to our standards. The people that fell did Akeidas, and we have zero tolerance for them for some reason. So this is the same type of idea. There are people who are balaches, mamish balaches. But the second somebody does something wrong, not chesed, they blow. They become so radicalized. They become so fired and many times so violent and unforgiving and vicious. Mamish achzori is cruel and vicious to those people, and they go all out, and then you can't stop them. But you're the nice guy. Yeah, but not for this. Nah. Avraham was nice. Even the people that he was against, he was nice to them. That's true Avos Chesed. In other words, if you don't listen to me, oh, now you're going to get it. You got to be on my good side. I'm a nice guy, but you got to be on my good side. Avraham said, even if you mamish against me, my whole essence, my whole Amudah Chesed, I'm still going to daven, because ultimately I don't want you to get murdered and die and mimis mishuna. I want you to change. That's what I want. That's a Jew, not a terrorist. A terrorist is beshita. That's a different thing. Somebody with a bad meat is one thing. Somebody with a religion, with a belief, there's no rationale there. Forget it. There's nobody to talk to. There's no change. You got to be out to Rome to begin with. And if you do with a strong hand at the beginning, you know what you want, and you have a strong hand, and you believe in the right thing, you don't care, no presidents of America, no presidents of Europe, I don't care what anybody says. This is the right thing to do. The presidents are going to say, 1 second, I respect these people. But if you don't have any a set of values, Talmudic values, I don't care how right you are in politics or a central right. I don't care. It's baloney. It's all you don't have your values. You have no yesodius. You have no fundament. Every second can change. In a second, you can change opinions. And if you don't value the Jewish Torah way, the nitzvahs, you don't do the right thing, you lost all credibility, mamish, mamish, and the world doesn't respect you. And what can I do? The American president, they would bow in awe, in reverence, and in honor when somebody respects his Torah and sticks to his guns, his values that of Avraham, Yitzchok, Yaakov. So that's all baloney. I can't because of this. All the lefties they're not terrorists. All the lefties would stand in awe, but they would say, I don't buy into your thing, but I at least they would respect it and they would fight for you and they would join you in. But if you don't believe it yourself, it doesn't come from Torah. It becomes your understanding. It becomes because you feel that's the right thing. No, what Hashem says, and let him speak for himself through his Torah and his Rabbanim and Tzaddikim. Okay, that's not for now. So 5 tzaddikim, 5 cities, 10 tzaddikim per city. So if there's chamishim tzaddikim, Hashem says, okay, fine. Then what? Then 45. It doesn't say 45. Ulai yachsuru, they'll be missing 5. Why missing? That means from every minyan they'll be missing the 10th one. Hashem, could you join in the minyan and become the 10th one? We'll have a cotton there, Sefer Torah, like they did in Europe before the war. The Mashlaminu with a cotton over 6 on Pardas. In these far-fetched, today you live in the metropolitan cities with thousands of Yidden and minyanim every 5 minutes and every whatever. And a person says, oh, no cotton, no chas v'sholem, no Sefer Torah. Yeah, okay, I'll put you in a city where you don't have a kippah minyan and you have 9 people, you don't have a 10th one. Let me see, Grace Knake, oh, you do me a favor. Go to the little shtetlich before the war and ask them how they lived. I'm not a balaloch to give shak din, but I'm telling you what the old people did, what they told me, and it was good enough for Hashem in those times. Yeshal malis lisma, weiter. Then getting so if there's 45, that means there's missing 1 for every city. Hashem says, I'll be mashla. What happens if there's only 40 tzaddikim? Could you save 4 cities? 30 tzaddikim, could you save 3 cities? 20 tzaddikim, could you save 2 cities? 1 minyan, 10 people, could you save 1 city? Hashem said, yeah. But there wasn't. So his whole tefillah sounded like Rishov, but Hashem answered, this tefillah didn't go Rishov. So the Elokei Avraham be'Ezra, if he's koivei, davens again and again, doesn't give up. Let's jump ahead. Okay, you have here. Here Hashem tells him, V'ato, Avimelech, he comes, he takes away Sarah, wants to live with her, and Hashem didn't let, and so on. So he didn't touch her Lamaisa, because Hashem didn't let. V'ato hoshiv eishes ha'ish ki novihu, v'yispal batcha v'chyeh. If you don't give back, so now return back Sarah to her husband Avraham. Hoshiv Eishes Ha'ish, return back this Eishes Ish, the married woman. He novi you because he's a novi and he'll daven for you and you stay alive. If not, you won't stay alive. Okay. What does that mean, ki novi you? What does that have to do with anything? So two pshatim I want to share with you. Hinovihu is pshat is that first of all, there's a halacha of islandess. Islandess is a lady that doesn't have a rechem. She doesn't have the complete system that you need to give birth. So islandess is a lady that if you fool the husband, he wants to have a baby. He wants you to give birth. You should bring him children, right? He didn't have children. He's looking for shidduch. And you know that you're islandess and you don't tell him, it's a mekach toys. You don't need to get. But if he, let's say he was married and he had a few kids, young children, and the wife never died tragedy. And now he needs somebody he doesn't need more children. So for him, islandess can be perfect. She can have children. So she's not going to be bitter about that it's not her child, or she won't be nicer to her child than to my children. So perfectly fine. She's a nice person. She's willing to take on the role of a mother. She's masculine. So if a person is cognizant of it and he's aware that she's islandess and he's masculine to so Kedushin is Tyson, then it's no, he's married to her. It's not a mekach. It's not a mistake. And he's married to her. Full marriage. Okay. No questions asked. So Avraham Avinu, see, as of now, she's still an islandess. Right? So Avraham Avinu gets married to her, and he knows that she can't have him. We have it in 2 weeks ago. It says Akora, sorry, Akora ain't lavolot. Not only she's Akora, right, but she doesn't have the system. Ain't lavolot. So Avram knew that, and he stayed married to her. So he knew. So it's saying, "Va'ata hoshev eis ishes kinovihu." Okay, I want to. I'll get to that in a second. I first want to jump to second shot. Avram is a kohen. Who the kohen is on Malki Tzedek Melech Sholem. Who kohen lekel elyon? Avram is the kohen lekel elyon. And then who gave Maisa to who? Vayeira Maisa Mikoil. Who gave Maisa to? Machlokes. Let's take upon Avram as the kohen. So Avram is the kohen. So so he's not allowed to take somebody that was defiled. Somebody took his wife and lived with her. That's it. They cohabited. He's not allowed to take her back. So how could a kohen take her back? But 1 second, nobody's allowed to take it. No, but the point over here is it was miyuchad with somebody else, but the point is you don't know if he touched her or not. So the Torah says, he knows you. He knows he's a novi. He knows you didn't touch her, so he can take her back. And if he can take her back, the Reisha Kasha is the Kasha here. Torah loy b'shamayim, right? You can't listen to b'shamayim. Nevi'us is shamayim, is in heaven. Ein l'dayin elu b'mashein l'royes. So you can't paskin according to Shemaim. And over here, the psak din is that he's not allowed to go back with her. It says this is after Matan Torah Shemaim. Now Torah is still in Shemaim. And if Avraham Avinu was able to what's it called? Then you have the story of Hashem Pocket the Sarah Hashem and all the stories about Rosh Hashanah. Not for now. So Avraham has a baby, Yitzchok, and Sarah says, "Send out the kid. He wants to kill our son." So and Avraham has to send out his kid, Yitzchok, because he's to listen because Sarah Shema B'Koila. Okay. Your children are going to be only out of Yitzchok. They're going to be your descendants. So yes, you had other kids, but then later B'nai Keturah, but doesn't count. This is the main. He's your descendant, and he takes your name. He continues your mission. It's Yitzchak. So do away with Yishmael. And then you have the story with Yishmael, which is quite interesting. It says Basher Ushab. Malachim said, why are you saving? This is very negated to today's day. Why are you saving Yishmael? His children will kill our children. In other words, the Jewish children. And you see that today. So why are you saving Yishmael? Let him die peacefully. I mean, in pieces or whatever. Their peace means pieces. And Hashem says, but what is he now? When right now he's in pain, he's crying. Oh, so he's crying. So he's not doing Avedis. He's not doing the Gimel Chamuras, the three cardinal sins of Avodah Gila Rayis, Shvichas Domim. So now he can be saved. What's chat, man? So let me, not a cute word over here, which brings out a little meaning here. When you say Hagomel Agoimel Chayom Toiv Shemalan Kultov, the Gemara says Arbot Tzlich Melhoides. Four have to give thanks. Four situations a person has to bring a carbon toida, and he has to bring the sacrifice as a toida. Today we do it by the Torah. We go to the Torah in front of everybody. With carbon toida, you have to eat 40 challahs, and it's a lot of bread, so you have to share. So you have to announce you have making the Suda Seidah. Thanks to Hashem, and everybody comes to partake, and you tell everybody the story. It's a very special moment. And over here, you go to the shul instead, and you announce that I have a special thanks to give to Hashem, in front of everybody. Why? Because I want to lefar samanes. I want to cheer samanes. I want to announce the big favor, the miracle that Hashem did to me, the good skite, the greatness Hashem did for my sake. So what do you say? You say, Baruch Hashem Elokeinu v'chayil. You thank Hashem, and you say, thank you that the one, the Hagoimel, who gives, right, who grants, la chayovim, people who owe. That means they're chayiv. That means they're not potter. In other words, they are convicted criminals. You were convicted, not you were indicted and then convicted, and you're not innocent. You have to pay up. Do the time, do the crime, or whatever it is. So albeit, although it's chayavim, Hashem grants toivos. I'm going to chayavim toivos. He gives toivos. He gives goodness. Now the shaila is Shagmalani Kultov, he gave me everything good, and we answer, right? Right. So we sort of prove and participate in this benevolent deeds that Hashem did for him, and we say thank you Hashem, and we approve it, and we participate in this bracha. But here's a very, very unique situation. We say Misha Gamolcha Tovi Gamolcha Kol Tov Sela. The one that gave you good, he should continuously give you good. Why? Because if you do a nisim and not yourself, if Hashem does a miracle for you, you feel good about yourself, but now your whole account is empty because he used all those poker chips, sort of, all the points he used for to save you. So in that sense, you have no muschusim. So we wish you, and the whole shul wishes you, that the one that gave you, he should continue to do, and all the brachas combined together, to compound all the brachas together, gives the person a pretty good future. That's what we'd answer. But what's the words of the bracha? Hashem gives good to the chayovim. Why should he reward sinners for doing bad? It's full of sin. He did Avraham, chayovim. And the teretz is because when you do chayavim, you do tshuva. What's pshat you do tshuva? What are the four situations that you're traveling? You're traveling through a midbar. The elements are terrible. The chayis, the wild animals and the snakes and the scorpions and everything else, and the windstorms with the sand and whatever, and the heat, and it's ferocious. And you made it through that. The list them on the ways, and then you go through the water, right? In Kapitel Kuv Zayin, 107 Psalms, and you go up to Shemayim, and the boat rocks up and then down, and you think, oh, in the wilderness, you think you're dying. In the water, in the ocean, you think you're dying. You come to the dungeon jail, you think you're dying in those times for sure. And then you go to the hospital and the doctor almost gives up on you and you think you're dying. These 4 moments, you're in jeopardy and you're davening your heart out. And you're doing tshuva and you say, please give me another chance. Please get me out of this situation. And I promise you, in those moments, you do tshuva. If you do tshuva in those moments, Asher Usham. If I judge you right now, you're perfect. Very good. You have a broken heart. So Chayovim has even a broken heart than a perfect person. And that broken heart says you're doing tshuva, and if somebody does tshuva, Bashar Usham. So therefore, all those Chayovim, it's toivis because at that moment you did tshuva. Same thing by Yishmael. Hashem says, what's the situation now? He's dying of thirst. Hashem says he's doing tshuva now. He's probably crying. Vayishmael Elikim El Koil, what's the S? El Kitshama Elikim El Koil Anar. Hashem listened to the Koil Anar, not to the mother. I said many times because a Jewish mother would be sitting by the bed, by the hospital bed, and crying for a son. She runs like as far as a football field. A few hundred feet, as the arrow, the shoot of the arrow, the shot of the arrow. She didn't want to see. What kind of mother is that? That's a mother that's willing to give her kids out till they should become terrorists. And she's proud of it. Selfish for herself. It's so low, but in the world. At least if we know our position, if we can explain it away, if we understand that we're convinced, if you have your conviction is solid, then people will respect it. If you don't believe in it anyway. Okay, I don't want to get off tangent. So that Chazal also teach that you should daven yourself. If there's somebody who can sick, the Gemara says in Brachas, what does it mean? Go to a chacham. Why not tell Rabbi? It's tzaddik. The chacham should teach you how to daven yourself. If you daven yourself, you're doing tshuva. Hashem says, Barsha Sham is doing good. Let me save him. Okay, I just want to go to the last thing of Akeidas Yitzchok and just reiterate, and we'll sum it up. I know it's time for story. It's such a long share. What should I do? We need more time for share. First of all, Hashem tells Avraham that if you're gonna, Hashem tells Avraham, go and sacrifice your son. That's a big chilul Hashem. Avraham tells everybody Hashem is the God of life. Let's worship the God of life, not the God of death. It's not a death cult. It's a live. It's a live Ilonid Chaya, continuous growth, and in order to perfection, to fix this world, not through pain, not through blood, through effort, through haravanya. It's not negative pain. It's pain that you know that you feel you're too stoif. You know you're benefiting the society. Maybe I'll speak a word about socialism. Maybe I just want to. It's not so much a socialism. I'm going to say it now. It was the elections in America. And it turns out that all the best of the mentioned voted for, you would think the poor people would vote for this candidate for mayor. But it wasn't that. It was the people that are educated, they went to college and they have degrees and they're making nice money. They were the ones mainly to vote for him. And why is that? Besides many other people that Beshita, I'm not talking about the Beshita people. Those people have Beshita and they're blind. I'm talking about people that they were betrayed in a very big way. It's it's a rebellion. It's a resentment. It's something that if you won't fix that, you'll never get rid of this uh, concept that we have over here. It's a concept. When I got married, and it's not a long time ago, it's just a few decades ago. There are people much older than me can verify much better. But even when I got married, there was still such a saying: save up your chasana money. You get married at the wedding. Some people gave $18, some 54, some 72, some 100, some 180, 10 times high. Some people, maybe an uncle was of 500. You might have had somebody $1,000 all together with all the people that brought little gifts to the chas and color and envelopes, and you put it in your bekashu. When it filled up, you started to give it to your relatives, put it away, and you were hoping, you can trust them. And I'm just kidding there. You can trust them. And they amounted about to $10,000. And they would tell you, put that away. Don't spend it right away. Use it for down payment for apartment. Remember, we were told that. What was apartment? Let's say $100,000. So this is 10%, and you take out a mortgage in 30 years, you pay it up and get it tamais. That was more or less. Today, there's no such a thing. There's no such a thing. A basement, you can't even buy a basement for that. It's astronomical. It's crazy. It's way, way above. The salaries kept more or less, a little more, and the prices went up 1,000-fold, 2,000-fold. It's not B'tzadei. It's inexplicable. It's just robbery. And when people invest and they take out loans and they get a higher education and they still can't make ends meet, they can't complete the month. They can't have leisure way they were promised with. They were promised a good life and they don't have this good life. And they see some people with some mazel, somehow they drive the nice cars with the fancy homes, with the landscape and everything else. And they're always traveling and they're always vacationing and they're always smiling and everything. And what I put in the 8 years of drinking and smoking and all cold cerebrals, I'm just kidding. I mean, I went to college and I put in the time. I did stay up nights to take some tests, and I have my degree. But the main thing, I spent $500,000, and nobody pays it back. And I'm not getting this high grade job. I thought I'm going to walk around with 2 degrees, and everybody bowed down to me. Nobody's bowing down. The plumber and the electrician is making a lot more money, and he's a lot happier. And he didn't go to college at all. They are rebelling. They're rebelling because if the capitalism says whatever you do belongs to you, you work, you put in the effort, that's what you get. And a guy says, I believed in it, but it didn't amount to anything because I can't. I'm 30, 40, 50 years old, and I still didn't get my act together. I still don't own the life that I was promised that if I do X, Y, Z, I'll get that. I don't have it. And they don't see it in the horizon, in the horizon. And if when they resent whatever it is right now, and if somebody says, let's go and revolutionize, they say, Amen. 1 second, what are you promising? Whatever you want. You just tell me what you want to hear, and I'll say it. Why? Because that for sure didn't work. And the question is, if we can't bring it back, that if you work hard, you could put food on the table, you could put a roof over our heads, and you could have a pretty decent life. I'm not talking about luxurious life, but a pretty decent life. And you don't have to run from gemach to gemach, and you can marry off your children. That I'm not saying life would be better. We don't know what would be better. Hashem knows better. But the point is, you wouldn't have so many bitter people. It turns out some people have the right connections or the right mazel. They're doing fine, and they absolutely don't care about everybody else. And that's what's burning right now. But so why'd you go to socialism? That's absolute garbage. Absolute garbage. And I said it many times. I'll say one sentence for that socialism. What's wrong with socialism? At home, we're socialists. At home, we don't have a kitchen for everybody. We don't have a separate pot for everybody. Everybody eats from the same kitchen, same pot. So socialism works at home. It doesn't work in the street. I don't know these people. I don't trust them. I'm not going to give my whole life for something I don't even know. So you have to be realistic, but that's not the problem with socialism. The problem with socialism, it never happened. It wasn't even an exception to the rule. Maybe in Eretz Yisrael for 5 minutes, only 5 minutes. At the beginning, when people were enthusiastic, they came after the Holocaust and they wanted the kibbutz, whatever. They really cared about everybody, each other. They only had each other. Okay, for 5 minutes. But socialism, the problem with socialism is so simple. Just one cloud. There's never exception to the rule. Just take it as a given. Find me but find anybody. There's no exception to the rule. Again, only by the Yidden there was for 5 minutes. In general, because the Yidden we look after each other. Even I don't agree with you. It comes to Tess, is a different story. Adam, Adam is one, is not Lashon Rabbim. So you know that part. Okay. The problem with socialism is at the core, it's corrupt at the core. The problem with socialism is take all the socialists of history, anybody, 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20, 10, right now, go into the bank account, see how much literally, lemaisa, very practically, how much tzedakah, how much percent do they give of what they amass? How much? It'll be so small that you won't be able to find it. Versus religious people, conservatives, capitalist conservatives. And then if you want to multiply it tenfold or hundredfold, go to the Jews, again, who are more religious, conservative, who believe in Hashem and work for him. That will be tenfold, 20-fold, and much more. So take how much socialists give tzedakah and how much the other people give tzedakah. And then if you want to do tenfold, go to the Jews. How much more so the Jews give tzedakah? And you'll see it's not even a fraction, not even a little dot compared to the numerous cases of more tzedakah. So what is a socialist? A socialist says you have to give tzedakah. But not I have to do you. He tells you to give tzedakah. He tells everybody they come with a gun and take away everybody's money. Yes, koyach. What about you? You forgot about yourself. Just think about it for 1 second. You go to the store and you buy something, it's taxed like 10 times until it gets to your hand. There's so much taxes, and it still doesn't work, and still nobody can. So you should have enough money now. Still, nobody has money to complete the month. It's the vast majority have a difficult life just functioning. There's so much worry. There's so much supposed to be such technology, so much, upgrades and sufficient systems and apps that's supposed to make life easy. And it turns out it's so bankrupt, it's so corrupt that most people, that even if they do the right thing, they for sure won't make it. And those that don't do the right somehow make it. And many don't, but some do. And those people become in charge and they laugh at everybody else. Or the socialists, they go into politics and they take everybody's money and they have apartments for them and their children, and they have a good life for them and their children, and a few friends that they tip off, and a few moisters, and then everybody else suffers. And that creates a revolution. That creates resentment. That creates such hatred to those people who sort of make it. They say, I played it by the rules. I just failed. So the system is a corrupt system. And as long as we won't fix it, that if somebody plays it by the rules, they'll succeed in life, just basic success, a roof over their heads, bread on the table, and pay for the tuition, for education, forget it. There's no hope for society. And so what does a Maimon do? A Maimon says, failure, it's in Shem's hands, in my hands. So there's an exception to the rules. The real religious people can walk around happy with all the hardships of life. Okay, so I just want, it was important, so I shared it, but I just want to get to this for a second. we, we said before that the mother, Yitzchok is afraid. He says, "Vayemer Avi, Vayemer Hineni B'ni." Not like Hagar with Ishmael. It says, "Hineni B'ni, I'm here. Imani kan hakol kan. I'm here, total. I'm present. I'm here. I'm with you, and I'm not distracted by anything, any gadgets or anybody. I'm totally with you." Before Yitzchak is losing his life, Chas v'shalom. So Avram Avinu, it says, "Velikimni," says Avram. Why not Yitzchak? So this topic I want to get to right now. This is one last topic that's going to do the whole 10. Last week we start Lech Lecho Eretz Ashereka. Now Lech Lecho Eretz Samaria, and Hashem says, "Go out." Starts off the 10 nisyonos, and okay, and the and it finishes off with okay. The next week is also Kavurat Sarah. Some shittas say that that's the last one, but whatever. Let's take it. This is the last one. Akeidas Yitzchok sacrificed his son. So it's a big little Hashem we started a few minutes ago before I interrupted about socialism. So Akeidas Yitzchok, yeah, it's a big little Hashem. Avraham tells him we serve the God of life. We should worship the God of life. You're going to worship the God of death. What's the shot? So there's a big Nisayon. Hashem doesn't question, and he goes right away, and he wakes up right in the morning. He doesn't postpone, and then he right away procrastinate. No, right away. Okay, sure. And he comes there, and he wants to put Yitzchak. So he ties him up, Vayakud is Yitzchak, and then he puts him on the mizbeach, and he wants to cut, and the Malach says, "Don't cut." So I wish to remind you the story. I can't remember which Rosh Shiva was from a few hundred years ago, and it was the time of the Sodom on Hasidim from the Misnagdim, and they came to a big Shiva Rav, and they wanted him to sign on the Sodom and didn't sign on the Sodom, and he said, "I can't." They told him to go and sign. It was against the Baal Shem Tov and his Talmidim. And mainly the great opponent was the Balatanya because they said you're not a Balalocha. He wrote Shulchan Aruch Ra, and then he wrote the Tanya, and they wrote Nefesh HaChaim. You could say it was, it was a Chazal not a chutzlul, but it was a big problem for them that they were matched, sort of. So they had to put him out. So they put him in stadium. When they put him in stadium, they wanted everybody to sign, and they couldn't get this Choshev to sign because he says he's not signing. So they asked him why. So he said, "Hashem can give life, so Hashem can take away life. A malach could only take a malach can only give life. He can save from dying. He cannot take away life. He can give life in the sense that he can tell you. But the malach, Kim said." Where's this? Vayikra Elav Malach Hashem min Shemayim. The Malach Hashem min Shemayim. He said, Avram, 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 saying the name twice is Lashon Chiba. The beginning was Hester Ponim, so it was one time Avram. Now is Lashon Chiba twice Avram. And he told Avram that don't send your hand and don't do anything to him. And that there was a ram, and then it was stuck. But I can't remember. Then they brought him one shofar. We said by the Shana, one shofar is for Har Sinai, for Mata Torah, for receiving the Torah in Mount Sinai, and one is shofar Shel Mashiach. Right. Point is that this Rav or Rav Shiva said, of course, if your Rebbe is like a Malach, you should learn from him. But if even the Rebbe is like a Malach can only say, don't kill him. Only Hashem can kill somebody because he's the only one that gives L'chaya. The Gemara says is b'yodesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? Everything that has to do with life and Tchias Mason is the key of Tchias Mason. L'chaya is b'yodesh HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Anything to do with life has to do with the Baruch Hu. Even Geshomim, Hainu Panos, it's also Geshomim is giving life, giving sustenance, is also enlivening, is also in the hands of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore only Hashem could do. So he didn't sign on the Seder. One more lesson, but not for now. Let me look at the overall picture. Why does Avram Avinu? What is that? Why is that the Av Uma, the Tata, the father of the nation? And if you don't listen to anything else, please listen to this. Avram Avinu is the Av Hamoin Goyim, but more the Av Ha'uma, the father of the Jewish nation. Via the Jewish nation is exemplary nation which to teach the whole world, not just to teach them, to show them how to live, not to force, not to control, but to be a good example and people to want to emulate the Jewish nation. Avram Avinu was supposed to learn from him his values, and the Gemara says, "By Shalom Rachmanim Goim Lechasodim." If you have the three values of humble and you're merciful and you're benevolent, then you have the three characters of the pillars of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu is the major Navi, the major powerful person, the rich person, the smart person, the Kabbalist, the Sefer Yitzchok, and everything. That how can I compare to him? What do you want from me? The lowly me can take him as my model. I mean, I'm so far away. How come? And this is continuing to last week's major lesson of Avram Avinu started off over the Avodah Zarah, and we have to be tolerant for people to do tshuva and come back. Otherwise, Hashem could have made him perfect. Hashem wanted to show us that there's always a way back. Just be sincere and cleave to Hashem. So here's the continuous lesson of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu starts off at the beginning of the parsha that he wants to show you, the Torah wants to show you the embodiment of chesed, the spitz chesed, the mamish, the emblem of chesed. You want to know what chesed is? Kitin chesed Avraham. I'll show you the story, and here's the story. Came three lowly people that he tells them wash your feet from Avodah Zarah, and it turns out that he fed them $3, and he ran all the way miles for kilometers. He ran, and he finally brings it, and he's muching himself, and he's sick that day, and he didn't want to give up. And he ran after them and finally, and the sun is baking and and he's standing. He was sitting before, he wasn't feeling well. He's running and standing, and all that for naught, for nothing. It turns out I blew it. Three malachim, they're not even people. So either the food got burnt up before it hit the mouth, or it got burnt up inside. Do me a favor. There was no ano here. There was no ano. I wanted to be mahana three people. I didn't. No. If you would have sent me three tzaddikim, Vayeira, and malachim, or lowly lives of Avodah Zarah, it's like what? Total failure. So you go right in the parsha. So you have the after that goes with light, and then the story with David for Sodom, and he davens and he begs Hashem, and what happened to his tefillah? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Like a smack in his face, bam, big rejection. No. So what's smacks in his face? The word failure, right? Then you go after that. Then the story with Avimelech. Weiter failure. He couldn't protect his wife, and weiter a lot of worry. What kind of husband is that? Can't protect his wife. It's total failure. And then after that, where's that? They accuse him and why he lied, and the Jews are liars and conniving thieves, and lowly, and the Jewish nation, swindlers, you can't trust them. Avimelech, compiled a whole list of beautiful terminologies for Jews, and ganze lowly images on a Jew. Then comes with Yitzchok and Yishmael. Talk about one-on-one chinuch. Avraham is the father of the nation, teaching us chinuch. Leman Hashitzava is base of his bone achrov. Yeah, he failed terribly. He was supposed to be mechanech par excellence, and he failed with Yishmael. Azai Yishmael, such bad influence in your house, and then Yishmael wants to kill his siblings with a slingshot, and he's trying to shoot him with arrows, and he's trying to znus with him, and he's trying to teach him to avoid the Zorah. Terrible influence, Zorah has to throw him out. So Avraham Avinu throws out his son. That's hatzloch and chinuch. And if he wouldn't have thrown his son, Yitzchok would be killed and ruined for life this world in Yenevel. Mamish a failure, like a total failure. Look at the nisyonos, what he did. It's total failure. Then you go weiter. You have the story with Avimelech and nobody told me, nobody this. Okay, there's two people involved there, but not for now. Then comes the story with Akeidas Yitzchok. Akeidas Yitzchok, first of all, it's a failure because he's losing all the Balchuvas when they'll find out that he went to murder Yitzchak. That's a failure. In his whole religion, he tried, and he's in 1 minute he's losing what he did for dozens of years. And then after that, even the korban, he's ready to do the korban. And garnished, and he didn't even check Yitzchak. So that means Hashem says, EFC, I don't want your korban because you're not worthwhile. You're just a total failure from the very beginning to the very end. It looks, I mean, to mildly speaking, it looks mamish, total collapse, total failure. And then after that, okay, so it says that Vine and it goes on, and then all of a sudden Vasul Yola the Shrifka. So over there you do have some resemblance, some semblance, something of a little, because the Yitzchok had the Nukfa and the half of neshama, which was the Nukfa, the feminine half, so he can never have children, and his counterpart, his other half, can have after she's going to get the masculine side, so she'll never have a baby. So now when he died, now it's Kiyasamesim. Now he got the masculine half, and a new baby was born. 1 second. Avraham Avinu after the Akeidas says, "Oy vey, look, I didn't even marry off my son, so he doesn't have I don't have an anikel. He's 137 years old, doesn't have an anikel. If you'd have married his son, then he could have brought him to Akeidah." So he says, you know what, right now let's deal with the shidduch. Let's quickly. And he sends Eliezer for shidduch next week. Why? Because I almost blew it. I was going to bring my son as a sacrifice, and he never had children because he didn't get married. So another failure, he didn't marry off his son, his only son. And Baruch Hashem gave him another chance. Let me marry off him quickly. So it seems to be a total failure, like a continuous failure, like mamish failure. And the teretz is, Hashem tells in the last nisoyin, he says, "V'lekim nisas Avraham." Vayomer Avraham. One Avraham is bastora. One Avraham, it's not chibuk. It's not Avraham. You don't see the love out there. It's Elikim. What does Elikim say over here? Hashem tells him, no, please. What does that mean, please? So I'll understand if you don't do it. If he wouldn't do it, he would never have children. Why? Because Yitzchok can have a baby. If he has the feminine and she has the masculine. Now they can have babies. So the fact that he listened to him, he gained on the deal. So now Yitzchok can have children. But the point over here is, no, Hashem says that, because I'll teach, Hashem says, if you listen to me, then all the 10 nisyonos that you received and you went through and you came out, sort of complete and successful with flying colors, that'll go to naught. Why? Because if you didn't do this one, then all of them mean nothing. Parsha is why. So here's one concept, and then I want to finish off with this whole thing that I just said about faith. There's mitzvah voice, ain't a mitzvah voice. Mitzvah voice is din comes to your Elohim, and he says, I want you to do Yitzchok. I want you to do Shech Yitzchok, to slaughter Yitzchok. It's a mitzvah voice, a thing which is a lot more than ain't a mitzvah voice, how the Gemara paskins. So it turns out that if you do it, not because you understand to do it, but you do, what does that mean? Let's go one step deeper and it'll come clear. 9 nisyonos, everybody can touch up and say, you know why Avraham did it? He's naturally a kind person. He's naturally a giving. He's naturally a flexible person. He's naturally easygoing, and you can turn him every which way, and he'll flow with it. Just throw at him whatever, any punch, and he'll flow with the punches. Avraham Avinu will find a way. He'll get along. He'll make friends with everybody, even his enemies. He'll take the people, take the rechush. He's very easy to get along with. So they'll say any nisoyin, any detour in life, they'll say Avraham Avinu, that's his nature. So it's not him. But when I come against your nature, V'lekim nisus, Avraham Delikim Midas Sadin says, go against your nature. What's your nature? Chesed, not killing a son, and I'm telling you to kill the son. So that's V'lekim nisus Avraham, not Yitzchok, because Yitzchok is din gvura. He's naturally inclined. He gravitates towards giving up his life. Mesidus nefesh mamish. Avram's nature is living al Kiddush Hashem. Yitzchok was ready to give up his life, and he did give up. He had Chis Mason though, because Hashem promised him Ki Yitzchok Yikorul Chazorah, but he gave up his life. That's why when we say in the Yom Tov, the Yom Neram, Efer, let the Efer of Yitzchok's Akeidas, there was no Efer physically, but he sort of did get burnt up, and he came back to his Mason. It's considered that he gave up his life. That yes, like this, there's one shita that he did cut with the knife. I mean, not totally, but he did. There was blood. But you don't have to come on to that. It's just the point that he really, literally gave up his life. But that's his nature. So it's not Akeidas. It's Akeidas Yitzchok, but it's not Nisa. It's Yitzchok. It's Nisa Avram, because your nature is not that. So when a person goes against his nature, that's the name of the game. If there's nothing you listen to the shir, in nothing, this is the most important, the single most important thing in the whole parsha by far. Not only this parsha, last parsha. Anything to do with Avram's and Yisrael, this line is the most important, which is when you go up to Shemayim. He went up to Rabbi Shmuel and he said, "El yoinim lemata v'sachtoinim lemala." Those who are on top in this world, those tzaddikim are nowhere to be found over there. And those who are down here, up there, they're on top. They're in the back seat. And why? For one reason. The reason is because they fought in Nisoyin. They didn't succeed. They didn't conquer. They didn't come through, but they fought in Nisoyin. The more nisyonos you get, the harder Judaism is for you. The more difficult it is to keep mitzvahs and to keep connected. And you have so many unbelievable distractions, and you have so many Yetzaras. The more Yetzaras you have, the higher you're going to sit up to the mind, even if you didn't succeed. The Gemara says, Pinchas ben Yair comes to the river, and he's doing pidyon shvuyim, and he says, come on, move it to the side. I got no time for this river right now. I've got to save somebody's life. And the river says, I'm a bori your Shema. I'm a bori your Suffolk. I'm for sure doing Rotzen Hashem Teva to run the water to stream. You don't know if you're going to succeed to save the guy's life. So you're a suffix. And Pinchas ben Yair says, yeah, oy bazoy, you better split right now. If not, I'm going to be goyza, you should dry up. The river, you won't have a river b'chlal. What's his answer? He told him a good taina. He's saying because I am the suffix. See, you're the smart guy of the class. You know the Gemara. You're witty. You're smarter. You're sharper. Everybody comes to you. You're the popular guy. You know it better than everybody. You're not gonna. You're the body. But I'm the suffix. But the Suffolk wins. In Shemayim over here, you win. In Shemayim, I win. Because I was Suffolk. I didn't even know if I'm going to make it, but I tried so hard. I gave it my best shot. I had more nisyonos than you can ever know. And I still want to do the right thing. If you want to do the right thing, and you have betochen, I want a little story. Rebbe Yashiv, somebody came to her. A lady came to her. Her husband was diagnosed; he's going to die, and then there's one Eitzah to take him to America, and they might save him for 5 days. For a few days, nothing, but a lot of pain, a lot of money. There's no money, and he said, "No, you're not mechuyev. That's it." But she asked again. She said she has a few kids, and the little kids, and they'll grow up and they'll say, "Mommy, did you do the absolute utmost effort? Did you leave any stone unturned?" And I'm worried. I want a psak from a rav that you should tell me I did my maximum that I was able to do. I don't have the money. I don't have the context. I don't have the means, and then the suffix. And Rabbi Yashiv saw that she continued, and he saw that the lady tear up. And she started to say, Rebbe, I have no doubt, not even a shadow of a doubt that Hashem is doing the right thing. He knows what he's doing. I have no problem. I just want to know halachically that I can tell my children that I did the utmost that I can. Rabbi Yashiv saw, he started to cry. Rabbi Yashiv said, Azab b'tochen, such peacefulness when the love of her life, the breadwinner, he's bringing the panasa. She without him doesn't know how she's going to function. And she has no tightness. That's not even a question. She just wants to know in front of the kids later, she able to say that I got a psak that I did the utmost. He was blown away. And he said, go right now to America. Today. She says, it's Friday, Shabbos. I can travel on Shabbos. What's the shaila? Go right now. And there's something at Yeshua. And the husband went there and he came back. They found the money and they did a procedure. He came back totally healthy. They don't know, some miracle. And they asked Rabbi Yashiv, Mikorem Akasova. And he said, when a person goes through an nisoyin, well, they don't know, they don't have an answer. And they don't know how they're going to come out, but they'll be tough. And they try. I saw her trying. I saw that she wanted to know that I tried. If I tried, that's all she wanted to say. Come up to Shemaim and tell the boy, I gave my best shot. If you try, you'll come to Shemaim. All of a sudden, they come. You have kids. They become the biggest tzaddikim. Ehrlich Yidden, Geschmack people. Ov lemal v'nechbad lemata. Ruach abriya is noicha menu. And you say, where do they get all that saying? Where do they get all that love? Why does everybody, and they get the best shidduchim? You know why? Because they had a baba and a zayda, or father and mother that had such nisyonos. They couldn't bear, and they said, it's Kenish, man, I can't fight. And they failed. They tried. Whoever has a nisyon, he goes, so Avraham says, Moshe says, please, Kasna, I'm going to go against your nature. I'm going to give you a nisyon that's against your nature. And please succeed. And even if you don't, but try. And Avraham failed every step of the way. At the end, but Hashem says, what counts is the whole parsha. I showed you how he failed. What counts, you tried. If somebody tries, there's nothing in the world that you'll come up to the highest madregas in Shemayim, and you'll come up to Shemayim, they'll say, wow, here I was in Tachtoinim, and over there, Yol for millions of years, forever. That's what counts in Shemayim. So Mordechai tells Esther, who knows? Who knows? I sent you down here. I sent you down here for one mission. For one mission, how the Baal Shem Tov says famously. The fact that you were learning and davening a whole life, that wasn't your mission. That I sent you for that mission to try, and you didn't try. But if you did try, all that learning, davening, that was you get, that's extra credit. The main thing, you can come down a whole lifetime for one mission. And even if you failed, but you tried, even if you succeeded for a minute, next time you'll succeed for 2 minutes, next time for 5, for 10 minutes. And Dave should tell them that's chus. You'll build such a base Yisrael like Avraham Avinu. You'll be the Ava Ummah then. And Hashem will say, I'm writing a whole new 5 books for you, for the person that tried. Thank you very much.